Okay. All right. Everything's good now. I don't know, for whatever reason, if I leave the computer um, running for a bit, the the audio goes out, or the side camera goes out. The side camera goes out. Oh boy. Let's see. Hopefully this won't. Let's try that a little again. All right. Hopefully that stays eh, more or less. Hold on one second. All right. There we are. All right. Kirihiko is in the house. Very late. Um, yeah, she's subbed for 23 months, which reminds me, we are going to hit our 2 year anniversary come, I think, end of August. So we'll do something special for that. All right. I've got an hour and a half, so I'm going to work very quickly. We can talk about San Diego Comic Con. I just returned. It was a long drive back because everyone basically decided to leave at the same time. I'm going to do a piece for our friend, and it's going to be classic Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. I want to make sure because I'm going to be working quickly. I might miss some of the notifications, but I will go back in and say hello to some people. Obviously, they're tuning in and subbing. I see a lot of activity there. I don't know how many of you guys are at Comic Con right now. Out of curiosity, there was a fair number of people I saw. We had a very kind of impromptu get together. All right. Let's see what this looks like here. Can't even see myself here. Yeah, I figure for those of you who couldn't make Comic Con, here's your chance to see a small hour and a half or so, a little less than an hour, a little over an hour, a little under an hour and a half. Drawing demo. I'm going to draw Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. Booster Gourd, the very famous time traveling vegetable. Okay, that's a 0.7. Okay, let me just get started and then we'll acknowledge some people. I did see that Kirihiko was in the house. She's our moderator prime. Started a little late. I wanted to get an important message out via Instagram and Twitter, thanking all the people that make Comic Con possible. Those long posts take a long time to put together, at least for me. Got to find all the pictures, edit them, find all the names of the people. I know I left somebody out, which, well, luckily I can go back and edit them back in if need be. And I didn't even tag anyone or list all the people. At this point, I'm just drawing two kind of very, this is obviously Blue Beetle, kind of a Spider-Man E-type pose. And then Booster, who can fly. So that's kind of what they're both kind of in the same distance from us. So the head size, the scale is about the same. But now I've got all this kind of dead space down here, and I'm thinking that Blue Beetle can be larger. So I'm going to erase this idea and increase it by, I don't know, like a third maybe? see what happens here. And it's quite a beefy blue beetle. Was that a third or 50%? Math is hard. Let's see, you can kind of see it all. It's a little big, so I don't know if I want to go that large. It's starting to dominate the piece. So I'm going to go just shrink his head a little bit. And by shrinking his head, it basically starts informing all the other shapes and sizes. May have some fun with that hand there. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I kind of want. They both have their arms out. I'm wondering what does something happen that's cool if his hand starts coming forward. Let's try this. All right. So rather than both kind of heels tucked underneath the rear kind of shot, I'm gonna do something where it's more like leaping out at us. Once I kind of get the gesture down, I'll pause for a moment for station identification. Now there's a reference that you don't really hear too much anymore. And then maybe we can pull up booster just a little bit. Make him a little bit larger. Okay, you can kind of see, and that's pretty much how I started the piece. That looks like a little weird little hole in the page there. All right, so now, and I kind of touched upon this in my how to draw panel that I did, which was an hour and a half. I don't know if any of you guys were there at that panel. I felt like it was a little bit long. Like the regular spotlight panels are an hour, and I always feel rushed. I felt rushed at both actually by the end, but I felt an hour and a half was like almost too much time with me. It gets like it gets grating. What was initially interesting gets grating by 90 minutes, but an hour is too short. So maybe if I can only do like an hour and 15 minutes, it was definitely too much time, says Crispy. Okay. I need water. It's nice to get to watch this while not in church. Says when it rains. Yes. Have I run out of jokes? No. You know what? It was weird. Like this year, the how to draw was really a how to draw. People just kind of asked me like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you draw hands? How do you draw dynamic form? How do you how do you learn to make things three-dimensional? I talked about perspective a little bit, and then the spotlight was a little more conversational while I drew. It was kind of like talking and drawing versus drawing to teach, right? 1 second. I have water here, so I need to get it. I'll be right back. All right. All right, let's see. Let's go quickly and acknowledge all the fine folk that are supporting this stream. We have Kirihiko confirmed. We have Crispy Egg Roll as a mod. I don't know. I think Poop Kid is in the house. In the house, as they say, as well. I can't even say it unironically. It's such an old expression, too, honestly. Okay. Punker 13. Yeah, it was good seeing Punker 13. He was hungover. That was awesome. Hey, man, my voice is getting better. Definitely no more late nights for me. I was like, do people still go out and like drink after hours at Comic-Con? I thought that was kind of over because that's what I remember from the 90s, going out. We had a panel that kind of reflected upon Comic-Con in the 90s, and Bob Schreck started talking about the parties, and then that jogged a lot of memories, and I didn't get a chance to share my experiences with that. But then I was like, well, it's probably better to kind of leave some things unsaid, you know? All right, so G Gammon has subscribed using Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, you got a complimentary Twitch Prime membership. You just have to renew it every month. Queen City Amusements has resub for 21 months. Yay. Turt Puzzlin has subscribed using Prime as well. Tim Baksh has cheered. Thank you very much for the bits. Mr. Nexus and Yokai Artist and Three Heart Feast have all resubbed. The Dapper Nerfter, the Dapper Nerfherder, Star Wars. I just want to say that I love your work and I learned a ton from your videos. Thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I'm happy that that's what you guys are saying, as opposed to it would be better if you didn't talk and just drew, or I don't understand, or you're making things harder than they need to be by talking about math and cans of soup and everything. But I do feel that part of art is having confidence. And sometimes when people start thinking about drawing a face, they get overwhelmed by thinking about how complex it is and all the parts. And really, it's just a bunch of lines. And if you can think about the complex things as something other than the complex things, right? It's kind of a weird version of imagining your audience naked, right? Don't see it as what you see it as or what you fear it as, but in a way that makes you feel comfortable and bemused and yeah. All right, let me go back and thank some other people. Spiky Summer has resubbed, supporting the stream. I appreciate it. There's this whole phenomenon of supporting people that stream is an interesting one. That's why I was initially attracted to this idea, because it was something so unlike anything I'd experienced before as a fan. So I want to thank you guys for being here and supporting the stream for the almost 2 years that we've been around. Chunky Style 3030 has resubbed as well. Holy Arts and Crafts Batman from New York. Thanks, Jim, for streaming after your long Comic-Con weekend. And Superhero Summer Art has resubbed 22 months in a row. Remy 999888 back from the UK. I look forward to seeing Remster again. Abatus has resubbed. Ethan Knighton and D. Calvin. Angry Panda 888. Ariane M. Telus 1. Daniel J. Bosco. Thank you for the Mr. Freeze remark. My pleasure. Tinker Ballerino, Wormser, Wymser, Kirihiko, who I mentioned, Anthony Romwell, 22 Bonilla Cupcakes, Spider-Man 1963, Poop Kid, the one and only Poop Kid, Crucial Crisis 3, actually Crucial Crisis 3 just hosted, but everyone else that I just mentioned, terrific supporters of the stream, I appreciate it, thank you very much. Uraha has also resubbed, thank you. All right, so let's get back to the drawing. G Gammon has asked the YouTube. It's it's youtube.com/Jim Lee. I was able to acquire that address back. All right, so the Blue Beetle is more or less more of a Spider-Man type physique, so he shouldn't be too bulky. So I have the general gesture down, and now it's just about kind of simplifying it, slimifying it, and also taking these kind of big globs of clay that I've thrown down as shapes and refining it. All right. And as I do here's what I'm thinking. All right, these are the lines I see in my head that I don't draw, but I'm going to draw for your edification and amusement. Look, there's a foot in the wild. Look at that. Easy peasy. My feet look like, the way I draw, they look like loose socks, don't they? They look like socks that are basically like his toes right here and socks kind of dangling. But I guarantee you no one really looks at feet in drawings. I could draw this. I could draw this, and you guys would just be like, whatever, right? You wouldn't look. You wouldn't notice it. People look at the eyes. We are biologically programmed to look at the faces because that's how you know if someone is friendly, friend or foe, right? Their body gesture, but also like their eyes, their emotional state as conveyed by their expression on their face. So it's really vital and important that we don't look at someone's feet, but we look at their face. And in fact, when you look at someone's feet, it's because you're trying to avoid eye contact and you're trying to distance yourself from that person, right? So, useless bit of information. The Dapper Nerf Herder has resubbed using Tier 1. Great. The Red Hood 924 has subbed as well. Passmarail has subbed as well. All right, let's check chat. What's going on? Yeah. So Comic-Con was another great Comic-Con. I try to convey it in my post, but here's the thing. The less you hear about anything exciting happening at Comic-Con, the more successful it really is, right? Because what you would hear would be things like security breaches or people fainting from dehydration or waiting, 17 hours to get their badge or the city, coming to a halt because they don't know, all the infrastructure issues and the fact that they can handle a sudden and massive influx of 160,000. I think I read an article about Amtrak even boosted the number of wagons and seats to accommodate the hundreds plus 130, 160,000 people kind of flooding into San Diego. That's like a flash flood of epic proportions. So being able to handle that from managing all the hotel rooms, just even the amount of food, being shipped in, the electrical needs, the police needs, the all that kind of stuff is just it's overwhelming if you really think too long on it. And they make it look effortless, right? No big deal. So that all the news can really focus around the news that the media companies bring, right? And for us, some people are like, DC was not at Comic-Con. Like I think who was it? A pedicab guy or something, or maybe it was an Uber driver. And I was like, no. We were just not in Hall H. In fact, we still had stuff in Hall H. It just wasn't theatrical stuff. But we had a huge activation over at Balboa Park to celebrate Batman's 80th. I don't know if any of you guys went to that. Anyone? Anyone? No? Yes? No? Oh, Crispy did. Mr. Nexus. Poopkid did. Anyway, I think it's over now, but it was amazing. There was an opportunity to wear a VR headset and fly through the streets of Gotham City while you were kind of free falling inside this tube. So I got to the picture I put up is me free falling. So you did that to kind of practice, and then you put the VR goggles on so you couldn't see anything, and then they escort you into the middle of this tube, this huge turbines blowing air, and you're floating. They're kind of helping you. Well, they stabilize you and balance you so that you don't go flying up over the top and out. And then through the VR goggles, they basically sync up the motion that you're feeling with flying through Gotham City, gliding through Gotham City, because Batman doesn't fly. Yes, we all know that. And at some point, you encounter the Scarecrow, and he releases his toxin, fear gas. And then you start seeing the city kind of melt and change, and it does this Inception kind of thing where the buildings kind of fold, and then heroes and villains within the Batman family kind of emerge out of the buildings. It's a little trippy. It's cool. A lot of fun, and it was intense. That was, I think, the first word that kind of came out of my mouth as I exited that experience. Like, wow, that was super intense. And what's so cool about it to me is that this is like the beta of this kind of experience. This is early years kind of. He's not Spider-Man, so I'm not going to do that. Early years kind of these kind of immersive experiences, and thinking about Comic Cons going forward. I am jealous of any of you guys that are old or younger than myself, and that's probably about 90% of you. In that you're going to get to go to Comic Cons that are just unimaginable from today's perspective, right? If the first Comic Cons were about people going and finding things that they loved as kids and wanted to recollect, and that I certainly did that. Try to find like old VHS tapes of shows that were no longer, because there were no DVDs. Like, how do you watch something? You couldn't just go on, and there was nothing on demand. It's hard to explain, but if you liked something, you had to wait until some overlord at some entertainment network decided to put it back on the air. And if it wasn't on the air because it wouldn't draw enough eyebrows, you just didn't see it again. So you had to find these like bootleg copies on VHS tape. And that's how you kind of collected. And same thing with comics. If you didn't have an issue from the storyline, you would go to a comic book store or Comic-Con to find it. And then it was about kind of meeting the people that created these stories, from comic book writers to artists to special effects artists. And then it was about meeting the stars and directors that brought these stories to life on the big screen, the little screen, the animated screen. And now it's kind of reached this theme park level where, with all these activations, it's no longer meeting the people that create the stories, the actors that bring them to life, but you get to be part of the story. You get to be Batman. You get to be a character. You get to experience or walk through Arkham Asylum or fly through the streets of Gotham City. And that's just going to get bigger and more intense going forward. That's the future of these events, I think, especially with AR and VR. And it'll allow people all around the world that don't have the financial means, or they might not even be physically able to travel, to put on a headset and see with incredible fidelity and immersiveness the Comic-Con experience. And so there are going to be 135,000 people roaming around the city in real life, and then potentially millions more all around the world kind of watching the panels, walking through the streets, experiencing Comic-Con as a superhero, experiencing Comic-Con through like my eyes or a fan's eyes. I mean, all sorts of things are possible, and that's exciting to me. So I hope I'm around for that, a little bit of that. Made in 1915. Yeah, sure. And then I'm thinking, the only thing I wish they would address now is I think there's an opportunity in that there's so many people that wait in line. Like woke up at 6 o'clock one day. I was looking out from my hotel room, and there's people lined up along the bay. There's lined up. It's like a big line. They look like ants. It goes all the way down the bay. I'm like, I'm not saying they shouldn't be lines. I was in a panel, and someone was like, no. I like the lines. It means that they care. And I'm like, Yeah, I get that, but I'm saying while they're in line, give them something else to do besides just kind of look at their phones, right? They came to Comic Con. And this is not a critique. I'm saying there's an opportunity. Someone smart out there can figure out what can we do with all these people that are basically sitting in line outside, inside, like everywhere you walk through Comic Con, there's people lined up for these very brief engagements, whether it's getting a book signed or throwing something at something like in a carnival ride, or experiencing some IP or universe or character, in a very kind of organized, authored way. They're people in line. Like, I'm not saying you have to sell to them, but there's something they got to do. Like, is there a way to do a panel for the people that are in line, without creating more of a crowd, and maybe the VR AR is part of that. Anyway, we got Proper Artist in the house. Hello, Proper Artist. Good to see you. But what if waiting in line gets so good that's all everyone wants to do? Well, yeah, you're doing it now anyway. You know, even waiting in line for an autograph, why not say, hey, you have this 15-minute window. Just come back in that 15-minute window. I'm just saying, look, someone will figure it out. Someone will disrupt that, as the kids like to say. We didn't disrupt anything. When we were younger, we just problem solved, right? We fixed things. Danger Boy 13. It's barely about comics anymore. I will disagree on that. We had 27 panels, I believe, this year, just about DC content. A lot of them were about comic books. Most of them were about comic books. You just have to know where to look for it. There's a lot of other things going on for sure, 100%. But if you just want to meet comic book creators and collect, find back issues and find other people, that's the way. In the panels on, they said, like, how do you keep the sense of intimacy that existed at the con in previous decades going forward when it grows so large? And I had an answer in my head, but I wanted to hear what other people had to say, because when I'm on a panel with a lot of people, my inclination is to talk less and listen more, because I want to hear, I'm there just like you guys are. I want to hear what they have to say, and I'd rather learn than just sort of go on blab about whatever I think is important. But I think it's social media. I think it's the internet. It's about finding people with similar interests amongst the throng of people, and there are people there for all sorts of different reasons. It's interesting. All right, so I'm just like, as you can see, I am just finessing and refining. Um, you know, got Charlie Parks and Quick Draw 13. Um, Subbed right now and later has cheered. Thank you very much. Right now and later. TARDIS fan 567. I've been watching for a while, but I forgot to resub with Prime. I couldn't make it to Comic Con. Will you be going to Silicon Valley Comic Con? I'm not. I'm sorry. I have like 3 or 4 shows left for the year. I will talk about those in a second. M Hong Chi without the I have no idea what that means. Has resub for 17 months. How could I not seen this handle before? You've been resubbing for 17 months. I just want to thank chat for being so supportive. I'm also thankful for someone like Jim Lee for teaching us. Can't wait for the years to come up. Thank you. Halftone Def has also resubbed. So in terms of, Jamie said the FOMO was real. Yeah, I can imagine. Like, so like the internet would just taken over. At least my feeds were taken over by Comic Con posts. And I'll tell you, I have a lot more pictures on my photo than I share. I don't want to post like 15 times a day. So I do kind of edit them down. But I do also see stuff that people did that at Comic Con that I wish I did, and I'm there. I saw a bunch of people do this cool activation with like Godzilla, where you get to kind of pose with Godzilla, and that was pretty cool. Saw that Dan DiDio did it, Eddie Choi. I wish I had time to go over and do that, but I did not. But in terms of conventions, the next one for me is Fan Expo in Toronto. That is late August. Anyone going there? And M Hung Chi without the he. Okay, so you changed your name. That's why. I would have definitely recognized that handle because I can't make heads or tail of it. Um, hey,
Are we allowed to have one candy?
have what? A candy? You mean the one you're holding in your hand?
No, it's just a
What is that?
toy.
Is it a toy? What candy are you gonna have?
What?
What candy are you gonna have?
I don't know.
Oh wait, don't touch that. You're gonna knock it over.
Oh,
Oh,
'cause
yeah, there's a stand there. Yeah, what candy are you thinking?
I don't know.
Or just one, okay? Just one, because we're gonna eat after this.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking about something.
All right, can you close the door behind you? Wait, come back. Can you come back? Thank you.
And I'll come back in
Okay, sure. All right, we'll see. One candy. I like how they self-police themselves. Anyway, all right, so that's um, Blue Beetle. Spengy G will be in Toronto. Onel Patel has subbed. Thank you very much. Montreal Comic Con is not in the cards. What's the next show after Toronto? I believe it is New York Comic Con, and then I'm doing Baltimore Comic Con, and then Alamo City Comic Con, San Antonio. I'm returning. Broke my rule of kind of not doing consecutive Comic Cons in a row, but I'm going to San Antonio. That was a great experience. And so, for those of you down in Texas, I will see you in early November, I believe it is. Jedi B311 has resubbed for 23 months in a row. Awesome. Pandemus has also resubbed. All right. So there's like this weird kind of space in between these two characters, but and I think would be an inappropriate space in that the negative space is essentially kind of square, which is kind of boring. But don't worry, there's going to be like energy glow, something like that, like that, like that, like that, and there's going to be kind of shadow and crackly white out, kind of splatter and things like that. And then here's his nose, his mouth. I'm drawing these guys like super grim and gritty. These are the funniest characters, especially in Justice League International. So I'm gonna have to exchange these expressions. So it's the eyebrows. As you can see, I don't really have a lot of detail here, but just the eyebrows, kind of the softening of that V shape. And then the chin gets a little pointier because the cheeks go up like that, right? So there's Blue Beetle, right? And then it looks a little like Spartan, but he's like this golden god, right? He's a good-looking guy that's a little full of himself. So that's what I got right now. Yeah, I could put Skeets in there. Crispy egg roll. Wow. That's actually pretty funny. Um, but it's the irony that's the funny part of it. Kano Zaiden. Any advice for someone who's trying to improve? Yeah, just draw a lot. Draw more than you've ever have to the point where it's just uncomfortable and you don't want to draw anymore. And then push yourself to draw even more beyond that. That's how you get better. Right? It's like if you were a tennis pro and you're swinging the racket, you're never going to get good until you get blisters all over your hands because you've been literally swinging the racket nonstop, right? Um, if you start running, you're going to get blisters on your feet. But then if you keep doing it, they will callus over. And that's, yeah, same thing with art. It is something that only gets better through repetition, and you have to do it constantly. You have to accumulate that knowledge in your head and keep it in there. Queen City Amusements has cheered 117 bits. Thank you very much for that unusual number. Lamb's Ace. Too long of a question. Chat rolls by way too fast. You can using references fine. Yeah, there are no rules. There literally you can Google it. You have to trust me in this. If you Google 10 rules about creating art, I dare you to find 10 rules. There are no rules. Kanger Banger has cheered 200 bits. Thank you so much. Hope you had a great Comic Con. Wish I could have been there. Yeah, you should have been there. You're slacking, man. Everyone that wants to be there should be there. There should be no excuses. It's just a convention. It's not like you're trying to climb, Mount Kilimanjaro. It's not like you're trying to, fly to the moon or draw Booster Gold and Blue Beetle after 4 days about talking about comics and signing comics. It's not that level hard. You Google, network. People join these things called buying clubs because the way the con works, if you get a ticket, I think you can automatically re-up for next year. So once you're in, you're good as long as you keep going. Once you stop, you're out of that list again, that priority list. So what happens, I think, is that people basically pull together worldwide and they make sure that maybe between 15 people, 5 people will always sub, and then they kind of trade off the. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Can someone explain it? I've never. I understand it conceptually when people say there's a buyers club, like they're pulling together, but how it actually works, they're saying the name goes to the top, then goes to the bottom, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? I have no idea. All right, Kanger Banger. The lottery system is broken. I don't know what that means. Are you saying that once you go in, you can't go again? Chris Baber, can someone explain the plea problems you guys have to deal with? If you want to take my words and skew them in a very, very negative way, that is one translation, but I am not saying that. I am saying, can someone who is more profoundly knowledgeable about these complex issues, who's also not trying to draw Booster Gold and Blue Beetle after 4 days about talking to comics, talking about comics and signing books for fans. Please take the responsibility off my shoulders and do it in a logical, pleasing, intelligible way. That's what I'm looking for. That's the translation I'm looking for, Mr. Mod. Oh my God. I'm gonna die on the stage here. All right. Heart rate elevated. Crispy egg roll effect in play. Full effect. Okay. Triggered, triggered, triggered. All right. Just draw, dude. Yeah. All right. What are we gonna do? Yeah. Okay. So now I gotta look at some Blue Beetle reference. He's got goggles. Goggles. Yeah. So if you have questions, try to keep them super short because if it's a big paragraph on my screen, it scrolls by too fast. I can't really. I can't make heads or I can't read it and understand it in an amount of time. So I apologize for conniption. Ooh, that's a good word. I like that. It's interesting note to note like the design of Blue Beetle. You know, because he was created by Steve Ditko, has very kind of Spider-Man like elements, but without the webbing. So I thank you, Mr. Steve Ditko. Maybe I should just call him Mr. Ditko. Did kind of a Ditko like. This is very Ditko like. In fact, if the hand went up further, like that. I always like this costume, like the thick bands on the edges. It takes the trunks and makes it like a little cooler. Okay. And then he's got like a something over there. Okay. I feel like he's still a little too bulky in the chest. So let me see if I can bring that down. Maybe that arm is also a little too pulled out of the socket. I just pulled this in a little bit. But man, Comic Con is a blur of things, and a lot of times I go, "Oh yeah, that happened. Oh, that was cool." Um, and sometimes you just run into people randomly. I help celebrate Richard Friend's 50th birthday. If Richard sees this on YouTube someday, I just want to wish him a happy 50th. I was over at Nobu Thursday night, I think. He just happened to be there with his wife and child, his kid, celebrating. And it was great seeing him. And, miss him a lot. He's probably one of the funniest guys in comics, man. I really miss his sense of humor. And obviously, his pure, like, raw artistic talent is undeniable, but he's just funny. He's just a funny guy. And his thoughts on things and the way he looks at it, he was sort of like the studio comedian. And he was kind of in the center of the room that we had. We had like three rooms that are kind of connected, and he was kind of at the hook. It was kind of a J-shaped room, and he was at the hook at the sort of the corner of that J, and he kind of hold court during the day. And I saw Joel Benjamin and his brother Ryan Benjamin. Ryan streams as well. And we were going up the stairs. They were going down the escalator. They ran off the escalator. They like turned around, ran up the stairs, and we just like hugged it out. And we had to like literally turn and run the other way because we had other things we had to that we were late to. So there's a lot of that happens at Comic Con. A lot of like, hey, good to see you, and you're past them because you got to be somewhere, and it's rare that I have the time to kind of just chit chat with people because I'm always running to whatever the next thing. So I think I fixed that arm a bit. This shoulder is still a little big. And then there's a lot of people that walk by you and you go like, oh, I know, and they don't see you, or they pretend they don't see you. I don't know. They don't see you because there's a lot of people. I think I must do the same thing, right? A lot of that happens at Comic Con. So it was interesting seeing a lot of people just kind of, oh, there's so and so. So you don't even get to acknowledge some of those sightings. And yeah. So yeah, we had the Batman experience. We had some big DC Universe announcements. Doom Patrol season 2 being picked up, which is exciting. The news about Brandon Routh reprising his role as Superman, revealing that Kingdom Come Superman insignia at the at his panel. I mean, pretty cool, very fun. And that's the hard thing is that there's so much DC stuff going on between all the TV shows, the animated movies, the comic books. It's you can't be at every panel. So I'm following along just like you guys are with with everyone's tweets and Instagram drops. I think I had that costume line. I had it going this way. I think it looks better this way. But it's probably the way I'm drawing it. I think it's more like this, right? See what I'm saying? Like it's actually technically going back into space. That looks weird to me. That works too, but then makes it go forward and then back. So I need to play that out. I need to if that's what I think looks right there, then this thigh needs to be a little bit bigger because it's coming forward and then it's going back. Okay. Right? Okay, let's play this out for real. Not just a placeholder. Let's go ahead and do the structure for real because that's what I just drew there was kind of a placeholder for a knee. And a lot of times I fix it or I address it when I get to the inks. But let's just try to like fix it real because I've got like an hour and I don't know if I'm going to get to the inks for this particular part of the figure by then. So, okay. Now I don't want these. That foot looks bigger than that foot, and it really shouldn't. So, let's do that. There's the kneecap. Remember, it's that little door, little spaceship door here. So think about it that way. What are those called? Airlock doors, right? So think about it that way. And then he's got those little scarab claws or whatever they're called, scarab things. And I'll pull more detail about that face mask. Airlock, yes, yes, yes. It is Ted Cord, yes. Superhero swimmer. All right. Have you ever been to a car drift competition? I didn't even realize there are competitions about car drifting. I have not. But I understand the concept of car drifting. I have seen it. I have smelled it. I understand it. I did not realize there was organized car drifting competitions. But it does not surprise me. Fuji5 says, "Hi Jim, Aaron W here. Hope you enjoyed Con." Aaron W, you're saying that like I know who you are based on a first name and a last letter. Care to elaborate? um, the Cuber School, it's a good school. They teach a lot of like basics, like the stuff I go through. It was started by Joe Kubert and carried on by his sons, and that's really a one of a kind type of institution. Janella from the Philippines. I have no idea what time it is there, sir, but thank you for the cheer. Girk has subbed using Prime. Janella has cheered again. That's awesome. Did anyone explain the P11625? That is correct. Did anyone explain the lottery system? No? As you can tell, I'm wearing a Booster Girl Gold t-shirt. It's one of my favorite because it's one of those things where if you are not a comics fan, a real comics fan, you would have no idea what this shirt was. You would just think it's hopefully a really rad, cool design. I say that mockingly, ironically. But if you do, it's secret code that, hey, I read comic books. Okay. So rad. It's the raddest. Correct when it rains. So is there anyone at Comic Con right now? It's over, right? It closes, I think, 4:30. Yeah, it's been over. Bodacious. Dude, was totally rad. It was key. That's what I remember from my childhood. Saying it's key. He's got a flight ring, right? I wonder what hand it's on. I don't know. I do like the old school where the collar is a little bit smaller. Let's see what happens if I do that. And then also I notice his hair doesn't go up. It kind of, his hairstyle goes a little over like this. He still like kind of parts his hair on the side. There we go. Now he looks less Spartan-like, more Booster Gold-like. Gotta think of his head as a can. So there's the top part of the can. So the hair can't float too high. Hmm. Oh, I think you need to see it from this angle to get the true sense of what's going on. All right, so now we're gonna put that bicep in there. The forearm coming down a little bit, a little curve in that forearm. So it's not just so stiff and sticking straight out the side. Look, those are rental. There's a sale on fists. I'll fix that later somehow. Or now. right. Look at this shoulder. He's been working out. This shoulder is as big as his head. It's actually bigger. I think I do get my reference from looking in the mirror sometimes. So, yeah, that's really something I have to look out for. Kind of a blind spot to this. I just kind of draw my shoulders like a little too realistically in this situation. Let me see if I can just bring that down. Weird flex, but okay. All right. I do hum to myself when I draw, so I just stopped myself right there. Spared you guys. The worst is when it's like, let it go. That song from the Disney movie. I can hear you guys humming it now. You will be cursing me after the stream is over. It will be stuck in your head. I will have placed it there through the power of memes. Jedi mind trick. I can hear it now. That's my evil laugh. Golf Boy Sunday. Here's to buff shoulders. Mighty Pegasus Art has resub. Jack said he was going to come back in here and have me approve the candy. He must be taking his time choosing what he's going to eat. I think that's the same issue that I had here. I just got to make sure that the shoulder is not dislocated from his body. I say that in a way to kind of remind myself, kind of admonish myself that that's what I just did. Right? You can carry a lot of power and expression through the shoulders, but if you pull it too much, it breaks it, right? But you want to pull a little bit to get that sense of dynamism, dynamism, and movement and power. I think I'm not going to have his foot there. His feet are tucked behind. Right? Yes. Okay. He still looks unhappy, and that's not what I want. So let me try to cheer him up a little bit. Have that kind of aw shucks kind of expression that I would imagine he would be sporting. I feel like the proportions are still too large. Let me dial it in a little bit. Basically, make his eyes a little bit smaller and put them a little closer together. And that'll make it. I gotta be careful, like, not to let the costume make you exaggerate the features in a bad way. His face is turned down just a little bit, but so that would mean that the tip of the nose might hang over the mouth a little bit, just make it a little bit closer. So I want to have that in there. Yikes, come on. And I'm going to render the heck out of these goggles here, so have some cool reflections. Or not. I don't draw a lot of happy looking people. You know, they say draw from the heart. Draw what you know. What does this say? I don't know. Well, now his head's gotten too small. All right. All right, I need to re-up the size. All right, let's just draw the face and then we'll put the mask and goggles on afterwards. Maybe I'll have a closed mouth smile. For his movie star, it kind of looks. And then rather than, we'll show the flight of the air through his hair. There we go. That's kind of what I'm leading to. Kind of an anime hairstyle. All the anime people are like, no, it's not. I hear you. I hear you. You're in my head. All right. So now that his head's bigger, I can go back and make the shoulder a little bit bigger, which will then make everything a little bit bigger where I wanted it, because I shrunk everything back down for the size of the head, but now I can go back in a little bit bigger on the forearms and then the fist. Okay. I think I'm struggling with this collar too. I don't do a lot of flared out collars like that. So let's just do the neck where it should be. And I think it's more of a down shot. Let's try this. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. And we want this to there we go. There we go. I'm going to put that star into perspective. Normally I would kind of draw it flat like that, but I'm going to go ahead and, it's a tricky thing. So it's a little shorter on the bottom. See if that kind of subtle thing does something. Maybe not. Okay. All right, Jeremy L. Joe, thanks for being yourself. Thank you for being you. Byron the Bulb has resubbed for 22 months. All right. Zamat, will I be finishing this on another stream? That's a good question. I don't know. I am going to finish this. Should it be, should I stream it? What do you guys think? Of course. Okay. No, I'm just wondering what you guys think. That's all. I don't know if this interests you or not. Like, I feel like most of the work's done. Inking is one of those things where you just kind of you do it, and all the I was just about to disrespect every anchor out there. I feel like all the the real work, a lot of the work's already been done. Hey, which finger is his flight ring on? Anyone know? Aching is the best part. Okay, all right. Sir table hand, ring finger. Ooh, good answer. Did Crispy say no? Perfect. All right, I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna stick to the D's. Sorry, too muscular. Index. I feel like no one knows. All right, let me look. Oh, found it. It's right here. All right. So let's ink some of this, shall we? In the remaining minutes, 13 remaining minutes. At the end of the stream, we will raid somebody. So hopefully the mods have someone kind of loaded up. And if you're wondering what raiding is, if you're new to this, it's a way of kind of sharing the following with another streamer. So we'll find someone else that also streams creative, and we will drop in on him or her, and kind of hopefully overwhelm them with all our spry and witty comments. And it's just a good way of spreading the love, introducing you guys to other artists and giving them a bigger platform, and hopefully you'll follow them, right? So, all right, let me pull up the proper reference. Which version should I do? I'll do this one. This is an older. We'll put Skeets right here. And I'm just looking at reference all the different costumes over the years. It's interesting. The cartoon one's a little different. And see, he has energy that goes off the fist, but I don't know if I'm expressing it the right way. Choices. I can figure it out in the intervening time between now and later. The thing with I added a smirk. The thing with Kevin McGuire's art is that he had a great facility with expressions, and it was just so fun seeing what he brought through that kind of subtlety. It was less about this, bombastic, over the top style, and more about the subtleties and humorous expressions. He brought such a change of pace. All right. And I'm looking at Blue Beetle and make sure that I've got the mask correct. There's obviously the original one here. Huh. I'm seeing the phalanges go a different direction on some of the reference. Mm-hmm. How do you guys draw these characters? Like fan drawings. The reference can be frustratingly ununified. That's funny. I'm seeing him go both ways. Okay. I can't even pronounce that. Hood Lamper has subbed. Thank you very much. Ignite Comics has cheered. Jordan Ski 2017 has resubbed. Awesome. All right, let's feel like we accomplished something. Let's go ahead and ink this. Ski. Right. Make sure I got Skeets correct there. You can see that I kind of screwed up the inking over here. Smooth hand. But all I'll do is basically do this. The line gets thinner to the top because that's where the light hits it, and it gets heavier to the sides. And that helps in a very subtle way kind of establish the three-dimensional form. And there's no way when you look at this drawing as a casual, like, hey, I'm just checking out this drawing, that you notice that. It's all about the subtleties of how all these decisions kind of add to creating some depth and drama and movement. Maybe an inker would appreciate. They go like, ooh, interesting. He decided to make the lines flare up on the sides. Got it? Got it. Because it's kind of this gold metal thing, I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of a reflection thing. I'm going to show. There we go. All right, so I've done that, and I'm going to do Blue Beetle's face here. And I'm going to go in like that, and looks like everyone kind of does it differently. And so I think this might be my first classic Blue Beetle drawing. I've done the Jaime Ramirez one Reyes. Jaime Reyes. Ramirez, sorry. But I don't know if I've done the Ted chord. I'm trying to remember. Probably have, I just don't remember. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and draw the face in before I do the goggles, because the goggles will throw off my face if I don't do this correctly. So what do I have going on? Let's make sure I can see this correctly. Okay, there's the mouth, lower lip. And then the mask goes on the side. All right, let's do this. Let's do that jawline. And okay. And bring in the mask on the both sides here. Now we're going to basically do the reflection of the glass. Let's look at the face here. It looks very kind of realistic. That looks kind of rubbery. I don't know if that was intentional. I'm asking myself. I have no idea. Okay. But I don't think he's a character that's supposed to spark kind of the fear of like a Bruce Wayne in his build or his countenance. Countenance. All right. And let's see what happens here. I say, let's see what happens here. Like I'm not in control of this. And there's the element of that for sure. I'm like putting down lines because I'm inking on very loose pencils. And I'm kind of finding my way with the character, right? Like, should the tendons and the neck be more pronounced, fewer, less? Should this come in more? Do I drop a shadow in like that? I do like that, so I think that was a good decision. Right? Yes? Yes. Okay. All right. It is 5:58, so I'm going to stop here. I will continue streaming this at some point. It might even be tonight. I don't know. It really depends on how I feel. I've been at Comic-Con for 4 days and then drove 3 hours back home. But you can kind of see this is something I need to get done, so I would like to finish it sooner than later, and I would love to kind of show you the whole process from start to end. But now we're going to go raid somebody. So let's go check that out. before we go, though, let me tell you first off that we're very fortunate to have Chris B, Eggroll, and Poop Kid here moderating. They were also at Comic Con with me. They put in long days and shifts all day, in fact, all night. And the mighty Kirihiko, who is, if she's still on, I think it's like 9 in the, or no, it's like 3 in the morning in Switzerland, in die Schweiz. So vielen Dank, Kirihiko. Ich danke ihr. No, ich danke dir. I don't know what you say. Ich danke dir. Ich danke dir. I thank you. Anyway, so we are going to go raid somebody. We have about 800 people, and hopefully a lot of you can stay on board. This will be kind of fun if you've never done it before. And I'll see you guys soon, if tomorrow, later tonight. And we'll get this done together. All right. Thanks, guys.